Hello guys, welcome back to Mr. Cloudbook channel. Today is the day Kubernetes masterclass, and in this particular video we are going to learn about the Kubernetes services and what is the use of the Kubernetes services and why we need to use the Kubernetes services. So here Kubernetes services and what is a service? First of all, a service in a Kubernetes is a way to expose your application. Okay, so to expose your application are the pods so that users or the application or systems can access it. So first of all, we will use the service in order to expose your application. Okay, so that users can access your application and do the payments, and they may be add some items into your cart, maybe do the payment later on, like that. So in order to access your application, we need to expose using your services. Okay. Real case scenario. Imagine you have a website, okay, where people can order food. Okay. So here this guy is there, right? So this guy. So here he can order a food here. Okay. So through your application. Okay. And you have multiple servers. Okay. So here we have so many servers. Think like that. This is on one pod or anything like this. This was one pod, and this is the one service. Think like that because here one service is there. Okay. Right, here we have this service. Okay, so this allows users to access your app using the nginx. Okay, so we have this one. So to allow this particular guy using the service to allow into your application, okay, to access your app, and it knows which server pod to send them to. Okay, so this service knows so to where to send that particular details that this particular service, I mean like the user wants to. So it sends to here. Okay, this is the one way. And even if one server crashes, okay, so new one starts automatically. So something happened. Okay, this one is gone. Okay, so what happens? So it will create another clone of this one. Okay, automatically because we are using the deployments, replica sets, everything, right, in the old videos. Like that, we can create the one more pod here. Okay, so and without knowing that what happening behind the scenes. Okay, this guy doesn't know anything what happening behind the scene. All he can do is just access your front end application, and he can access the front end side. Okay, fe side, not the back end. So all he can do is access your front end application. So through the service we will allow him to access your application, and this nginx directly talks with the back end service first of all. Okay, so it will again use another service to talk with your pods. Okay, so this nginx doesn't have access to directly talk with your database. Okay, remember that this doesn't have access to talk your database. That is the one of the main fault we have to see. Okay, because if you access your database directly, it is another case of uh, mistake we are doing, because this is the one of the wrong way, because so everyone can attack your database and take your details and everything from your database easily. That's why all we have to do is, so we have to allow this particular user to uh, this front end application. Okay, like to the data and what and everything. So he can access this service using this nginx, and then nginx will talk to your pods. Okay, here, and these pods will talk to the database and give the data like which pod is there, I mean like, so here it will talk with your database. So here, okay, using the service. Okay, so this is the internal communication. Okay, here this is internal communication happening. Okay, so this is the external. Okay, because only the users can access it, and users direct cannot access directly to your database. Okay, so this is the other way. So with the use of the services we can do this possibly. Okay, so a service is an abstraction in a Kubernetes that defines a logical set of pods and a policy by which to access them. Okay, so this service will become like an abstraction in your Kubernetes, and that defines a logical set of a pods or a policy by which to access them. Okay, so this nginx not able to access the database. Okay, this is the database, and only this pod can access your database. Okay, so we have that kind of abstraction using the services. And next we need to understand why do we need the service. Okay, so here let's see. So what it's he's saying, we don't have any service now. Okay, we don't have this service and we don't have this service. Okay, so what happens, user can directly access your pod. Okay, sometimes. So what happens here? So whenever this pod crashes. Okay, sometimes what happened, this pod is crashed. Okay, so then what will happen, it will create a new pod. Okay, so it will create the new pod, and with the new pod we will get a new IP address, right? So and the name will be changed and everything will be changed. Okay, so whenever he tries to connect, the user tries to connect again, so he will face the issue. So he will get 404 issue. Okay, or some kind of any wrong information he will get. Okay, this is the one thing we will mostly face. Okay, so we didn't give access directly to your pods. Okay, the IP will be changed and port will be changed, and what else we can change. So anything can happen here. So service, okay, because we have this service, right? So this makes sure that users always knows where to go. So if doesn't have this one, so it doesn't know. I mean, like this user doesn't know. Okay, so we can't always give the IP address every time, like to user. So go this IP and we changed the pod, and the pod is changed. This IP is changed, and you need to go to that particular IP. So that is how it will goes. And again, a big mess here. Okay, so your application is crashed here. Okay, completely crashed. No user will work. I mean, no user will use your application if you use like this. So how many times you will change the IP address, how many times you will update the with some version, nginx version, maybe like that, new pods will created, new IPs will change, and everything will be big mess. Okay, so here is the real case. If you have an application called amazon.com and you don't care which server responds. Okay, so you only care that the website works. Okay, so Kubernetes service works the same way. So it provides a single consistent way to access your application no matter how many backend pods are running or changing. Okay, so what happened is here, so let me remove one more thing. Again, I will just clear it 1 minute. So I have the Amazon application here. So I have the one service is running here. Okay, so one service is running for my Amazon application, and users can access using that service. Okay, here, right? So without any issue, then this service will talk to your backend pods. So if this one goes down, okay, what it will do? It will create another pod. Okay, so here IP will change and everything will change, but users not impact here. No impact here. Okay, so there is no impact because the user will only access this particular service. Okay, so and this service will talk to this backend pod. Okay, so if this crosses so many times, it doesn't care because this knows where to go. So and to which pod it needs to go. Okay, and this knows, I mean, a newly created pod will know so where to go to find the data. So using the services, that is the one of the best use case. So how many times backend pods is crashed, they're running and changed? No, it doesn't matter because we have this service. Okay. So because these services will take care of everything. Okay. So if pod is crashed, no worries, create a new one. I will go and talk to him directly. So the user is never impact here. Okay. And types of clusters, we need to understand this one. This is done. And what is service is done. And types of services, we have the three types of services here. So we'll talk about each of thing here one by one. So three types services, one is the cluster IP and other one is the node port, and load balancer. We have the other one also, external names, but mostly we will talk about these three: cluster IP and node port and load balancer. So why do we need service actually? First of all, because we already talked about, yeah, this is why we need the use case. So main thing is here. So I will explain, because pods pods will change. Okay, pods may be change and new pods will come. Okay, what happens? Some old pods gone, new pods will come, right? And old pod leaves and customer get lost. Okay, so with the service, we can easily run the application without losing any customers. That's why we need the service. Okay, so let's talk about the three types of service we have. So we have the four actually, but we will talk about the three mainly. So first of all, we will talk about the cluster IP here, and let's see the first example of cluster IP. First of all, so a cluster IP service allows communication between pods inside the cluster only. It cannot be accessed from the outside. Okay, what happens here? So this is my cluster IP, right? So this is the cluster I have. Okay, now I have this cluster. Okay, so I have three pods. Okay, it allows the communications only inside of your cluster. Okay, That is the first thing you have to understand. Okay, mostly. And for the real case example here, I will explain in a simple terms what you can easily understand. It allows only communications inside, okay, between your pods internally, okay, inside only, okay. Remember that. So what it does, okay, this is in a help desk, okay, is only available to workers. I mean, like, this only available to this particular node and this particular pod. I mean, sorry, pods, and it's only available to these pods, okay, and customers outside cannot see or use this one, okay. So because these are cannot be accessed by the outside customers, okay, this is one of the customer I have, he cannot access those. So these are internal cluster IP. This is a private one, okay, this is like a private. So the missions, I mean, like, the pods inside the factory needs to send the toys to each other, but they don't want to customer outside to see them. So they have a small internal help desk for our factory. So they will give the data, required data, to your outside of the world, but they don't want the customer outside to see them. Actually, they don't see them. Okay, customers not able to see them, but the factory will definitely send the data to each other. Okay, so they have a small internal help desk for factory workers only. So like we have the help desk between these, I mean, these pods only. So the main idea of this cluster IP is internal use case. So why we need this means internal communication. So the main purpose of the cluster IP is internal communication. Okay. In a simple way, you can understand this cluster IP. So think you have a company. Okay. So there is a some kind of systems will be there, and networks will be there, and you will get some kind of free resources like Udemy, like that. And you have one email account. Okay, your company provide one email account, right, using a Google Suite, like that, and only the internal employees can use, okay, and no outside people can able to use, right. This is the main use case of your cluster IP. Only the internal communication purpose we will use the cluster IP. Okay. So example, we can call it as the payment service can only be accessed by the checkout service. Okay. No one from outside can directly access the payment service. Okay. So let's say this is one of my cart service. Okay. This is three pods. Okay. So here user not able to communicate directly to payment service, but we can talk with this checkout service. Then this checkout service has access to talk with the payment service. Okay. So here remember that I explained here already. So this Nginx doesn't have access to talk with the payment, I mean, like, database, right? I mean, you think like this is as the one of the payment service. Okay, what they will do, users only able to talk with the checkout service, okay, here. So this checkout service will go here, and then checkout service will go and redirect to payment service. Okay, this here we have the internal service. This is called the cluster IP service. Okay, for internal purposes only we will use the cluster IP. Okay, remember that. So we cannot access directly the payment service, but we can access through checkout service. Okay, because these two has then a internal service here, that is a cluster IP. Okay, next we have the node port. Okay, so here we have the node port. We will talk about it now. A node port service opens a specific port on each node, making it possible for users outside the Kubernetes cluster to access your application. Okay, so this is one of my cluster. Okay, so inside I have three nodes or two nodes, anything, just for the use case. So one is a bigger size and one other one is small size. So and node port service opens a specific port on each node. So here there is a one specific port is there, okay, for each node. Okay, this is one. So think like that, because okay. So there are two ports we have given. This is a one node and this is the other node. Okay. So to making, I mean, like, the customers are the users to access your application. Okay. So when you host a simple application on your laptop, what you will use? you will use a local host. Okay, local. So you are using something similar to node port. Okay, if you are using locally means you are using like a something similar to node port. Okay, because you are hosting this application simply on your laptop. So this is like a simple node port. So because we are adding a simple port to your node here, and but for your application we are directly adding. Okay, when you are access it, you will use this localhost 3000, right, in your local network. So you are using something similar to node port. Okay, so imagine this node port as the window on the wall. So this is the name window, okay, for your application. So that people can outside can talk to this node point, okay, only talk with this node point, okay. So not to the internal application, okay. This window, okay, this window allows into a specific number of, okay, port. We added one port here, right? So like 30,001 or 30,002 because we mostly expose worker nodes on that particular name of ports. So people can request anything, okay. So people can request to this port, okay. We are adding one port here, so they will request to that particular port. So the customers outside from the user side, they can now say, I mean, like look into our application side and they can access like, okay, this front end application, okay, I want this five, like five chicken biryanis like that. So they will tell that particular endpoint, okay. Here they will talk with this particular endpoint, okay, and this will go and talk with your inside pods, okay. This is one of my, this is another pod, okay. So this main use case of node port is users like customers access your pods from outside the Kubernetes cluster. So users can access our clusters outside a cluster using this particular node port, okay. So this is the second one. So node port is a service opens a specific port on each node, making it possible for users outside the Kubernetes cluster can access your application. Okay, that is the main purpose of your node port. So you can run the test server on your Kubernetes. You open a port 3008 using node port, and you can access your server using the HTTP. So node IP and colon or semicolon using 3008. Okay, you can access your application. Finally, that one we have the load balancer here. Okay, so which is a pretty important, everyone will understand because this is very mostly uses in our application side. So a load balancer service makes your app available to users on the internet. It acts as a gateway and balances incoming traffic across multiple backend ports. Okay, remember that it can act as a gateway and balances the incoming traffic across multiple backend ports. Okay, imagine. Okay, so we will talk about here in a detailed way. So think like this as one of my application, that is Netflix. Okay. So see, this is a simple netflix.com. So the traffic has spread across thousands of servers. Okay. So here I have 1000 plus servers. Okay. I mean like I can use like 1000 plus of pods. So because there is a new movie released on the Netflix. Okay. So what happens is so many users are coming and searching for that movie, right? Okay. What it will do? So if you use two or three pods, what it will do? It will crash your application, right? So it's not able to handle that much of traffic alone. Okay. So there is a gateway here. Okay. We will use a load balancer here. Okay. Think, think like this as a load balancer. And what this load balancer will do is make sure no single server is overloaded. Okay, so if we don't have a load balancer, so here there is a one pod, let's see, two, three, four, five, some more pods are there here. Okay, so just think like, so we don't have this. Okay, first of all we don't have this. So what happens, every time traffic will go to one server, and what will happen, this particular, so it will crash automatically. Okay, so without use of load balancer, so the application will get down. So with the load balancer the users can talk with this one. Okay, this acts as the main gateway and then load balancer will spread the traffic like this to the different user. So it will go like this. So the traffic will go without any issue and flawlessly. So everyone can access your application without any downtime. Okay. So this is how load balancer will work. Okay. So like sometimes remember that I have 100 users here and this is one of my cluster application running. I mean 4 pods are running. Okay. So each will handle like 40 plus, I mean like each time they can handle 40 plus requests. So, but what I did is I added one load balancer here. Okay. So these 100 users will talk this load balancer. This load balancer spread the traffic. Okay. To all the pods equally. Like, so 25. I mean like you can say it like 25 per each, like 25 into 400. Okay. So it will spread the traffic equally. So no pod, okay. No pod will be overloaded. Okay. So every pod will run without any over CPU usage or out of memory like that. That is the use of your load balancer. This is like a big fancy help desk because this load balancers will spread the traffic equally. Okay, you go this side and you go this side and you go this side and easily spread the traffic without any issue flawlessly. It will send the 20 plus users to a separate of your pods. Okay, so everyone can access your application without any issue. Okay, so in this simple way you can say load balancer. This is like a big help desk with lots of desks and staff members. And if outside of the factory, okay, think like the outside of the factory, I mean like toy factory or something, with a big sign that says come here. Okay, what this load balancer will tell, okay, come here, come to me, I will take care of everything. So that is how load balancer will say. So if 100 people come to the desk at the same time, it divides the among different help desk workers. Okay, so it will divide the traffic to separate pod workers easily. Okay, so everyone is served quickly without any, I mean, like latency. So if there is an heavy emergency, what they will do, they will open a new desk and they will spread the traffic to that particular desk. So you can go to the fifth desk, or you can go to the eighth desk like that. The load balancers will spread the traffic to that particular pod. There is the technical use case of your load balancer. So I have fourth one I have external name. This is 4. Okay, number 4. And an external name service doesn't send traffic to pods. Okay, this doesn't send your traffic to pods. Okay, but instead of it will works like the phone book and points the users to an external service, and it will tell users to go to that particular service and go to this particular service like that. Okay, so when you type google.com, your browser uses a DNS to figure out which IP to connect. Okay, so the external name service works like that also. Okay, so because you don't remember the IP address of your google.com, right? Like that, if you type the google.com, so what the DNS will do, so it will figure out the IP address of your particular google.com and it will connect to that particular IP. Okay, so all you have to remember is google.com. So that is the same way external name service also works like that. Okay, so here is an one simple use case. If you have a service like Stripe for payments, so that is outside of your Kubernetes cluster, you can use an external name to link your app to Stripe. Okay, so what we can do is we can add API, Stripe API to the payments, okay, which is outside of your Kubernetes cluster. So your app wants to call https://api.stripe.com. So instead of using URL directly, you create a service with that name, okay, in the payments that maps to api.stripe.com. So your app can call https://payments instead of that particular full URL. Okay. So what this external name will do, instead of calling this one, so we will create a one external name inside your pod and that pod will call this particular API. Okay. So that is how it works. The external name. Okay. So these are the 4 services. Okay. How does a service work? Okay. So whenever customer comes, okay, the customer goes to help desk or the load balancer. So where can I get some kind of information? So what that load balancer or the cluster IP will do, like the help desk, we can think like service. Service knows where to go, okay, and which missions to be this traffic to be sent, okay. So this magic will work, and it checks the list and says, okay, so you can go to this particular pod. I mean, like the load balancer will talk to pod and user will get the information, okay. So internally, if pod changes, it doesn't matter, so because the load balancer will take care of that one. Okay. So the user is not impacted here. So you can use a simple visual representation also. So if a customer knows the IP address, okay, without service, what he will do, where is the mission? He will ask whenever something is gone, like pod is crashed, what he will ask? He will ask where is the mission? Okay. So, okay, found one, it's moved. Okay. Someone will have to say again, okay, the mission is changed, the IP is changed. So you need to go there. So with the service, we can say, okay, sir, we added this service to this pod. So if pod is crashed, doesn't matter. All you have to call that particular service. Service will take care of your pod IP address and everything will be talked automatically in an organized way. Okay. And we will see about the demo in the next video. And thanks for watching the video and keep on supporting to Mr. Cloudbook channel.